Afternoon. Good afternoon. Good afternoon, everybody. Can you hear me now? I feel like Beyonce. That's the only time in my life I will feel like Beyonce. Thank you all for being here. And please join me in just expressing some gratitude to the string quartets who have been serenading us for the last 15 minutes. Shake, Peter, Omar, and Lindsay, thank you. Thank you. No wonder the senator asked specifically for a string quartet. It somehow opens the hearts.
Can't hear you. It's microphone helping.
Watch out for the 10th row because there's the hecklers on it. So now we know that. Is that better? Now I really feel like Beyonce. Did you hear the thanks to the string quartets? Good. Did you hear that was by request from Joyce? Joyce also requested that all of you be serenaded by students from Clark County School District. So today we are so grateful that 12 students from the Las Vegas Academy of the Performing Arts are here under the direction of highly acclaimed and devoted educator Megan Franke. So please welcome them as they serenade us. And what I do want to just let you know is that 11 of the 12 graduated on Thursday, and then there's George. Wait, George. We still got a year to go. So in addition to being able to do other things as recent grads, they have chosen to pay homage to someone on whose shoulders they know they stand. And so here is their tribute to Senator Woodhouse.
There's a lovely spot
please thank Las Vegas Academy for the Performing Arts Superintendent Joyce Ebert, I believe, is in the house. How proud are you, not just of these amazing kids, but this extraordinary educator, Megan? Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. A special thanks to Kristen Searer, without whom that wouldn't have been possible. So let me just explain the program. The service was beautiful, and we hope this is too. We're going to have a letter read to you by Bertie on behalf of the family. After that, we'll hear from 7 who are close to her. And I just did some rough math. And I think by my calculation, they represent close to 200 years of relationship with the senator, based on the 7 that we heard from. After that, for those of you who are able or wish to stay, we'll open up the microphone. And if you've got anything on your heart that you'd like to share, a memory you'd like to express, an inspiration you'd like to toss out, you have permission to do that. So let's get started. Bertie Woodhouse, are you ready? Bertie Woodhouse, ready or not? Here you go. She's ready. This your first finger now. And the note I have. Oh, you like a wrapper that your lips touch. Can I get it done? Okay, just to warn y'all, I'm not a public speaker, so this is kind of scary for me. As Joyce's sisters, we decided to share a few stories of her life prior to the professional side you all know of for the past 60 years. Joyce was born in Glendive, Montana, and until she was 12, lived with our family on the registered Hereford Ranch in Webo, where our dad supported the herd with dryland farming. In 1956, the family moved to Big Timber, lock, stock, and Herefords. We continued ranching and farming on our acreage on the Yellowstone River. About that time, we sisters, Joyce, Frances, Cheryl, Bertie, and Claudia, joined our neighborhood 4-H club, which, along with classmates in our one-room school, became the basis of our childhood friendships. Imagine all of those sisters attending school in the same classroom. And Joyce excelled in school, as you can probably figure. She helped her sisters with homework, was proficient at memorizing and orating her parts in poetry readings and Christmas programs put on for our parents. The pressure was very strong to behave with Joyce in our classroom. Through our 4-H years, we raised many steers and heifers to show at the county fair. Joyce used to roust us out of bed very early to work with our animals before the temperatures got too hot for comfort. Around 6 a.m., we were putting halters on our steers so we could train them to lead and to stand still for the judges. Of course, they had to be spotlessly clean for judging, so the animals had to practice taking baths, getting hosed down, shampooed, rinsed, dried, and curled. Those white-faced Herefords had to be very clean, had to have very clean, shiny faces too. And now can you imagine, can you picture Joyce giving a 900-pound steer a bath and teaching it to lead on command? Mom was our sewing and cooking 4-H leader and taught all 5 of us to sew our clothes. Many were judged at the fair. Cheryl knows Joyce and Francie never received anything but first place ribbons because humiliation descended on the family. This is according to Cheryl. I don't know about that. Anyway, humiliation descended on the family when Cheryl's pair of plaid slacks earned a red ribbon. How mortifying. We maintained a huge garden which provided us with fresh produce and produce to be preserved for the winter months.
We learned to plant, hoe weeds, and bring in the harvest. Joyce could convince us anything could be competitive. I'm sure it was a ploy to get us to work faster. Who could shell their bowl of peas first? Who could snap their bucket of beans the fastest? And whose bushel of corn was the first to get shut? Each spring, Mom bought about 200 baby chicks who became egg-laying hens, or Sundays, fried chicken. Of course, that meant the 5 siblings were in the kitchen crew. Mom scalded the chickens and we all plucked the feathers. Joyce's job was to hold the naked birds over the gas flame to remove the pin feathers. Yuck. The reward was the scores of delicious young fryers in the freezer that became our fried chicken dinners. Throughout the years, Joyce had an interest in music. She was a member of the high school chorus and took piano lessons. She gave up study hall once each week and walked 6 blocks to the piano teacher's home, even when the snow was deep and the temperature was below freezing and the big timber wind howling. Okay, as a high school freshman, she unknowingly inspired her 6-year-old sister's love of sports. Claudia became Joyce's constant companion for high school basketball games. A bond was formed through their love of sports, whether it be basketball, football, Olympic figure skating, and more. Claudia went on to love the Montana Grizzlies, and Joyce loved the UNLV Running Rebels. They became fans of both teams. When the Grizzlies made national TV, Joyce enjoyed the games at home or occasionally ventured out to Torrey Pines pub with me. An unforgettable experience and so much fun. Wanting to help with the college expenses, Joyce began working as a waitress at Fry's Cafe in Big Timber. The next summer, she was asked to be a cook's helper, and Cheryl got a position as a dishwasher. The following summer, Joyce became a main fry cook, and Cheryl became a waitress, and both were promised raises. One day, Joyce came whipping into the restaurant in the middle of the shift, insisting that Cheryl remove her apron and stated, "We are leaving." The look on her face was seriously scary, so no questions were asked. They left. Outside, Joyce said she had seen their paychecks and there were no raises included. We were done. Joyce didn't mess around with untrustworthy people. Honesty and integrity were in her bones. As a student at Carroll, Joyce made many friends with girls who remained friends throughout her life. Her roommate, Pam Reardon Fallow, sent a loving tribute to be added to this story. Pam related that Joyce was an active member in many organizations. She participated in the Student Education Association, whose motto reads, "Preparing for tomorrow's youth and molding the teachers of tomorrow." She was at Carroll Spurs, an organization for scholarship, leadership, and service. The board of coordinators had the responsibility of scheduling all of Carroll's school activities, and Joyce was actively participated in that group too. No surprise though, her most passionate membership was with the Young Democrats, and she always encouraged others to become involved. Joyce was a faith-filled member of the Legion of Mary, where she joined a small group titled The Most Pure Heart of Mary. Pam and Joyce shared their sorrows and laughter as roommates and friends with many of these college groups. After graduation, a group including Cam, Joyce, and 2 other friends moved to become teachers in the Clark County School District. After their first year, Joyce was the only one brave enough to remain in the big city. Cam and Joyce remained friends and even shared a long phone visit just days before Joyce's 82nd birthday. During the summer after graduating from Carroll, Joyce was invited by our county extension office to join the People to People program on a month-long journey to Europe. She was able to visit many countries and stay with farm families in each country to compare life on farms in foreign lands. An adventure for a shy Montana girl. We all know of Joyce's love of the UNLV Running Rebels, and sharing that love is Claudia. Claudia and her husband Jerry were able to attend some of the UNLV tournaments and met Joyce in Seattle to enjoy a game when the Rebels were truly running. Joyce returned the favor, traveling to Missoula, Montana to attend a Grizz game. However, she thought once was enough, and she didn't think she was ever going to get warm again. I think that was in August. Claudia spent weeks with Joyce during her recuperations from each of her knee surgeries. They spent many happy hours enjoying the Rebels, the Grizzlies, Haver Montana High, and Aces in the Fever. When Claudia returned home, they enjoyed the games, communicating by text. A very special game occurred last December when the Grizzlies played UNLV for the very first time. The Grizz surprised everyone. The Grizz star, Money Williams, put on a show. Joyce was frustrated. Her text became increasingly filled with anxiety throughout the game. At the end, her last text arrived, all caps. I hate Money Williams. When Money announced that he was transferring and one of his top choices was UNLV, suddenly Joyce left him. Sadly, he did not choose to become a rebel. After her European summer, Joyce moved to Nevada to begin her career as an educator, administrator, and legislator. And that brings us to the point where you all entered her life. We thank you all for being a part of Joyce's life and for joining us to celebrate her today. Thank you.
We're gonna have to change that whole "I don't do public speaking" thing. They're gonna have to. I've also had the privilege of watching sisterly love in action over these last 6 months, as Birdie has put her life on hold, relocated here to be side by side, day in, day out, to every step of this journey. So I just want to honor you for that. So where's it? And I was there when Sister Claudia was here because we were getting new knees. And so, I mean, when sisters are needed, sisters show up. When they were all there at the Nevada State Legislature, when she was inducted into the Senate Hall of Fame, everybody was there because that's how it rolls. There is a story that she shared that I don't think any of us here knew. So I'm going to share it with you. 4 years before arriving in Las Vegas, at the request of being a teacher at the Clark County School District, as you just heard about, she stood in line to register as a freshman at Carroll College in Montana. And she had every intention of becoming a medical technologist. Yes. Then she overheard someone in the lineup mentioning that her chosen field would require blood draws, and knew immediately that her squeamish stomach made that a complete non-starter. In that moment, without a definitive plan B, she thought of her mother, Evelyn, who's a service worker who never had gone to college, but who'd always carried the dream of being an educator. And prompted by that thought, as she approached the registrar's window, the declaration that came out of her mouth was, "I'll be an educator." I don't know what things could have been different had she made a different choice, or had we not had someone fortunate enough for the state of Nevada to mention that you had to draw blood as a medical technology. It is all good. It is all good. That was beautiful. Thank you. And now one of the people that Joyce specifically requested be a part of today is the one I'm going to bring up next, and that's Guy Hobbs.
May have to do a little adjusting here. How does this work, Boona? Well, yeah.
How many does it take to get this up? I think I said a swear word in my head, and that seemed to have helped.
All right. Can you hear me okay? All right. First and foremost, I'd like to thank Joyce's family for the absolute honor and privilege of being here today. I'll get into some reasons why it's such an honor and privilege. But the other thing I wanted to mention at the outset, I have a lot of people that I know here, and I'm sure a lot of you wonder who I am. But some of the people that are here, like my good friend Senator Don Darrell Lee, former First Lady Sandy Miller, I was talking to them over by the Christmas decorations. You know, I know they're speaking a little bit later. And they said, well, I think it'd be a pretty good idea if what you do today, Jeremy's here, so he'll help me with this. If what you do today is go over all of the mathematical details of how we this summit funding. Does that sound like a good idea? I'm kind of getting mixed faces here. Well, there's plenty of opportunity for that at another venue. But you know, I'd like to talk a little bit about first meeting Joyce. It was, I don't know how many years ago, probably 30 years ago, and I'm living over in this part of the valley, and I'm mowing my lawn on a Saturday, and that usually means there's probably a Coors Light or two tucked away someplace. And Joyce came walking by while I was mowing the front lawn, and she stopped to talk to me. She was campaigning. She was going door to door. And, you know, it was an interesting conversation that a lady like Joyce would stop and talk to, you know, somebody like me at that point mowing my lawn on a summer day. But she always seemed more interested in what I had to say to her and wasn't necessarily pitching me on anything. And, you know, it's several years later, we crossed paths again and in a number of different ways, certainly at the legislature. And she remembered that chance encounter from all those years before. I mean, I'm not sure what impression I made on her that day, but she did remember it. We talked about it. And there's something special about a person who's been knocking on hundreds of doors, remembering some guy mowing his lawn, and that's Joyce. When I think about Joyce, there are so many words that come to mind, and I'll list a few of them. Kind, honest. You're going to hear these over and over today. Sincere, passionate, effective, tireless, dedicated, wise, and also humble. And all of those are absolutely true. There's another word that comes to my mind. I mean, and this is the way I feel toward Joyce. And that word for me is gratitude. I'm deeply grateful to Joyce for the example that she set for me. And I think for a number of other people, that you can be kind and still be highly effective. That you can speak softly and selectively and still be clearly heard. That good old-fashioned hard work, and you heard a little bit about that from Bertie, and perseverance pay off. That putting the interests of others ahead of your own, particularly for those most in need, is the most noble pursuit that somebody can aspire to. That humility is more of a virtue than all of the credit and awards and everything else put together. And sincerity and honesty carry more weight than confrontation or gamesmanship. And those are all qualities I saw in Joyce over the years, testifying in front of committees where she was a member. If she had a awkward question, she would generally pull me aside afterwards and say, you know, I really wasn't sure what you were talking about there. You mind explaining that to me? And I really appreciated that. I'm also grateful to have had Joyce in my life for all of these years. She's been a mentor in more ways than she ever knew. She brought so much experience and wisdom to the task that we were trying to accomplish on behalf of the Commission on School Funding. and the Commission on Innovation and Excellence in Education, both of which she had a hand in creating and ultimately leading. Can you really begin to place a value on the insight and experience that someone who's been a career educator and also a highly respected longtime legislator brings to the table? Joyce is really the MVP of education improvement in the state, and she's the best friend that students ever had. Speaking for a moment about the commission, I know each member, I think I speak on their behalf, and the folks at Nevada Department of Education that work to support the work of the commission and all the other people associated with it. When we thank the family for sharing her with us all of these years, and I know that it took time away from all of you. And there's one thing I reflect on too. I don't know how many of you are familiar with the work that the commission's done. I'm sure you're all avid readers of the reports that we put out. The last one this past year was 501 pages. And I would send these sections of this over to Joyce for her to review as we were writing the report and trying to put it together. And always being the career educator, she would hand it back to me, and I would look at the top and it would say things like, she would make notations throughout, like, explain this a little further, all in red pen, like that, right? Try to soften this point. What are you trying to say here? And then at the top, it said, keep trying, you can do it, smiley face. And I took that as tremendous inspiration. And I was really, really eager to make those changes, hand it back in, and hope for that letter A from Joyce. But something I try to remind myself of in reflecting on the life of someone who truly means the world to me is that I shouldn't be consumed with sadness when that part of something wonderful is ended. I should be thankful that it ever happened at all. And I truly am with Joyce. How lucky are we to have had the privilege of sharing time with her? She made us all a bit better. So Joyce, thank you for your wisdom, insight, kindness, dedication, all of those other words I mentioned in the beginning. The youth of the state appreciate you. I appreciate you. This whole room full of people appreciate you. Thank you so much. Yeah.
I think you can earn a gold star at some point. I think you're on your way. Next up is the majority leader. We know her as Nicole Canizaro. Some of us know her as. I think the senator viewed her as a mentee, as a friend, and as someone who she believed in deeply. Please welcome Nicole Canizaro.
Right. I wore the good tall shoes today, which Joyce would have said to me, "Oh, I don't know how you walk around in those, but they're beautiful." So I wore them for her, which is good because I also can reach this microphone. Can you guys hear that? Feels like it went out. Did I turn it off? I probably turned. Yeah, I did. Didn't know. There we go. All right, we're back in business. So I am so honored to be here with all of you. And I just want to say thank you so much to Joyce's family for being there, not just for her, but for giving me a few minutes to speak about my very dear friend who means so much to me. And I'm going to apologize in advance. It's a little tough to talk about her. There's so many of us and so many Nevadans whose lives are really, truly were touched by her service and by her kindness. And she was a teacher, she was a senator, but she was also my mentor, and she was my friend. And for me, she was one of the very rare people who makes this work and this world a little less difficult. I first met Joyce when I was running for office, and I'm the first person in my family to have gone to school. And it turns out that in this world, I think I always say Joyce and I were destined to find each other, because she was actually the principal at JM Elementary right before I became a student there. And so we had just missed each other. And then I was in law school and I did an internship at the legislature, and the committee that I was tasked with watching every single time they met was the Legislative Operations and Elections Committee in the Senate. And Joyce was the chair of that committee. And so I used to tell her all the time we were destined to find each other in this life, some way, somehow. And so when I decided to run for the Senate, I was very motivated by some efforts to take money out of public education. And that was something that I said, look, we have to do a better job of, because there's a lot of students and kids like me who don't have an opportunity if they can't get a good education. And when I met her, she said, well, good then. We're going to have to go win these races. And her and I lived in districts that couldn't be more opposite ends of the valley. And we were both running in really tight districts. And I remember that whole entire election season, she was incredibly motivating. And she said, well, we just have to knock doors and you have to keep doing it. She was always very positive. And running in these tight races is very hard because they say things about you. It's incredibly difficult. You're trying to convince people. And she was like, well, you just have to knock more doors. You just have to knock more doors. And I thought to myself, like, okay, Joyce, I'm totally going to knock more doors. I'm like 30 something and I'm totally going to knock more doors than you. And then every week they would send out this email. And in that email, they have how many doors each of the candidates was knocking. And I would be out there my husband and I would go out like Saturday all day, Sunday all day. I'd get off of work and run out. And sometimes I'd still be like in a suit knocking on doors because I'd just come out of court. And every week I was like, this is the week I beat her. I know it. I just know it. Like I beat her this week. And every week those numbers would come out and she beat me every single week. And I was like, how is this happening? Like, I'm 30. How is this happening? And she's like, well, you just got to knock a few more doors. And I'd say, okay, well, then I'm going to go knock more doors. And so I'd go knock more doors and then she would knock more doors. And there was one week where I beat her by like a handful of votes or a handful of doors, right? It was like nothing, but I was like, one. The next week she beat me and she beat me the rest of the election cycle. And then after the fact, come to find out that she had contracted a cold and basically didn't knock doors for most of the night. And that's how I was able to beat her. But that's how Joyce sort of came to this campaigning life. And so when I say like she made this work and some of the things you have to do when you're running for office like a little bit easier, she brought such a positivity and such a kindness and such an encouragement every single time. And that to me was so important because when we went into that first session, I was trying to figure out what do I do with my hands? I don't know what I'm doing here. And she was always like, nope, let's sit down. We can talk about it. Let's go through the bills. Let's figure this out. And, that session we were fighting for public education funding and, she was right there beside me. And I think that she quickly became more than just a colleague to me. She was somebody who I trusted. She became somebody who I would call when things were hard, when the path wasn't clear, or I wasn't sure how we were going to get something done. Or when I just needed somebody to kind of help me sort through everything. And she would just always help me find my footing. Sometimes she did that with advice, sometimes with a story, and sometimes with a reminder that I was tougher than whatever problem was in front of me. And it's often, in true Joyce fashion, she did it by very lovingly making clear that there was just still more work to be done. And that I needed to get back to it. And she had a wonderful way of making you feel completely supported while holding you to a very high standard. She expected a lot from all of us, but she believed in people and she did not believe in letting people off the hook. We had to show up. There wasn't another option. If it was tough, we'd sort it out, but you had to show up. Our bond truly deepened after that first session because we had the wonderful fortune of both being part of a recall effort, which I remember getting the notice of, and I was like, is this something they can do to us? And she was like, well, I think so. And it was hard, and that was a strange experience. And I remember that when it was first kind of all coming to fruition, I said, you know what, I can just resign and they can appoint somebody and we don't have to. She was oh, no, that's out of the question. We are just going to go fight this thing. And so we fought that together. And I was so new that it was incredible because I watched her during that fight. That was incredibly hard. The recall was bananas. But I saw her tenacity up close. She was steady. She was disciplined. She was not going to be intimidated or pushed out of the work that she believed in. And I think that's something that I learned from her, to not get pushed out of the good work that we had to do. Watching her handle that moment with so much strength and purpose, I think really gave me a passion for the work that we do. And Joyce was not just somebody that I served with, right? She was somebody that I learned from tremendously all of the time. So when we went into the 2019 session, because things couldn't get stranger, about 30 some odd days into it, I became the leader of the Senate in my second session. And the only reason that I knew that we could do it, was because as soon as that happened, Joyce said, well, Nicole is going to be the leader. And everyone in the caucus said, well, yeah, we are. That's right. She is the leader. And I was like, I don't know if I should be the leader here, but I guess this is what we're doing. And she said, no, I have faith in you. And here's what we're going to do. And that night, we sat down, a couple of other senators, and said, okay, here's some of the things we have to do. Here are the bills we have to go find. She was running the budget. And she said, I know you don't know a lot about the budget because I never sat on the budget committee. And so she set up these like 7 a.m., 6:30 a.m. Meetings with Mark Pompatic and the entire fiscal team to teach me the budget. So I roll in there like half asleep. She'd be like, okay, today we're going to learn about this. And today we're going to learn. And I think like Guy mentioned, she was constantly telling me like, this is how things work and this is how that works. And here's what we're going to be looking for here. And here's some of those issues that we've seen before. And I remember it was a recent, maybe a couple of sessions ago, and she looked at me and she said, I think you finally know some more things about the budget than I do. And I don't believe her. I think she always knew, more than I did. But even going into that 2019 session, I think one of the things that I would be remiss if I didn't note for Joyce, and some of the incredible work that we do here in Nevada, is that, we're really lucky to have a female majority legislature, and which is incredible. But you can't talk about that female majority legislature without talking about Joyce, because following the recall, we were actually still kind of in the middle of all of it. And she said, well, we have to go win some more seats. I said, okay, well, what do we got to do that? And so she stepped into that role, right? She said, well, we have to go recruit some good candidates. And she helped us find Melanie Scheibel, Julie Pizzina, and Meryl Dondero, and said, you got to run for office. We need you. And Joyce was a driving force behind recruiting amazing women to come and serve in the Senate, to go run tough races. And she helped us. Here's how we're going to run the race. Here's how many doors you're going to go knock. Here's how we're going to make that happen. And she helped we got 2 of them elected the first time. And then, of course, came back and picked up Julie the next time around. But after that session, she helped us recruit Roberta Lang to run for the Senate. And then she helped us recruit Shelley Cruz Crawford and Angie Taylor and all of these incredible women who are serving in the Senate, because Joyce believed in electing women, in electing strong women, and empowering them and teaching them. And I would not be the leader that I am today if Joyce hadn't pushed me and supported me, if she hadn't helped all of us along the way. And we certainly would not have a majority female legislature or a majority female Senate or female leadership in the Senate. There would not have been that if Joyce hadn't been there to support all of us along the way. And I think that that's part of her legacy, that we can't talk about that majority without also acknowledging the tremendous impact that Joyce Woodhouse had on helping to create that, by helping people run races that they weren't supposed to win, by helping to recruit good women candidates and saying, we believe in you, and that's how we're going to do it. And so, in that time, of course, we've done incredible things for education. And somebody said to me today, thank you for letting Joyce come and be part of the legislature after she turned out. But the secret is that I didn't let her. I think the hardest part about this is that I don't really know how the Senate and the Senate Democrats are going to keep doing the hard work without her because she was so integral to everything that we have done. And so I can thank you for letting me share so much of her time and energy, of letting her continue to give her heart and soul to this state and to students and to all of us that have been lucky enough to serve alongside of her. It's invaluable and it will never be forgotten. And I don't think that there are many things in this state that would not be the way that they are without Joyce. I know that our leadership of the Senate would not be the same without Joyce. And that is, I think as hard as this moment is, that's the piece that I choose to reflect on, that this world is so much better and this state is so much better because of her. Thank you.
So last week I had a really sweet conversation with Sister Claudia. I hope you don't mind. And she is the PowerPoint queen responsible for this lovely looping that is love poured into by Sister Claudia. And as I was talking to her about the work that she was doing on the PowerPoint, she said, I've come across many of the photos, and Joyce was a little bit older than I was. And I see in these photos that she looks happy. I always thought she was like dragging me along because she had to. But I can see in the pictures that she maybe enjoyed me and that she was taking me along willingly, that she wasn't forced to take you. And I think what I just saw a pattern is that that's always been true. Claudia, she loved her baby sister because she could pour into and share with her baby sister and teach you. And she's been doing that for the Senate Democrats. She's been doing it for women in Nevada. She did it for 17 years in a first grade classroom. She did it as she built the partnership office at the school district. She sees people, sees the potential in them and pours into them with a lot of joy. So in those pictures, she wasn't like in timeouts doing a punishment to hang with you. She was genuinely excited to pour into you. And next up is, with 5 sisters. I come from 3 sisters, but there are 5 sisters. If there were a brother, it would be David Parks. So here is Joyce's brother from a non-existent mother. We're getting very kind. Very kind.
That's okay. Good afternoon. Thank you for being here to celebrate the life of our dear friend, Joyce Woodhouse. I met Joyce over the years at various meetings, events, and it wasn't until I first served in the Senate that we became very close. We sat next to each other on the in the Senate chambers and struck up an agreement that we'd watch out for each other, making sure that neither of us messed up and screwed up when we were supposed to be speaking or taking a vote. So while improving education was Joyce's primary endeavor, she was deeply involved in many other legislative issues. She was not a single issue legislator, as was evidenced by her being inducted into the Senate Hall of Fame just last year, as well as receiving numerous other fabulous, fantastic awards. As many of you know, I have a twin sister, and we are polar opposites. On the other hand, Joyce and I came to learn that we had a whole lot in common, like twins, including our age, our rural upbringing, our arrival in Las Vegas around the same time, and a multitude of similar likes and dislikes. And as listed in Joyce's obituary, we shared hard work, preparedness, and conviction that every person matters. One quick story, Joyce and I would work late nights during the legislative session. And I'd often get a call from her saying, "Get in here." Well, our offices were next to each other. She'd say, "Get in here. You're not going to believe the meeting I just had regarding one of her bills or a financial matter." She said, "I need a glass of Pinot Grigio." And she says, "Do you want one too?" And that was kind of obvious. I would always say yes. Joyce would share her unbelievable experience. And one time I remember replying, "Well, do these people not know that they were poking the bear?" And we'd laugh, and Joyce would say, "Well, we'll see." Joyce was not vindictive. She was undoubtedly determined, decisive, and always prepared. She had a friendly demeanor, and that was seen by most as being disarming. Joyce, you will be true. You are truly one of a kind. Your legacy will carry on. Thank you.
Oops. Pinot Grigio, and note to self, Pinot Grigio. Next up, I mean, part of what I think was so incredible about Senator Woodhouse, Joyce. I'm working on it. Part of what was so incredible about Joyce is how broad her expansive network of people she loved and loved her was. It didn't only stay in elected official land. It didn't only stay in Democratic circle land. It didn't only stay in little people land. She was widely regarded in the business community. She was still in the last months holding court out of a hospital bed in her living room, holding court with the folks from the Metro Chamber to talk about fiscal policy with Senator Dina Neal and Guy Hobbs. And one of the people that I think represents that dimension of her life is up next. That's Mitch Fox. Mitch, there it is.
Wow, when I look out in this crowd, what a crowd. Wow, I kind of feel like Forrest Gump in a way. I mean, who am I? Very honored, actually. And actually, to be quite honest with you, I look at friends and family, Bertie, you're to be commended. You are such an angel, the way that you took care of her. And when you get up here and talk, you sound just like Joyce. But everyone, I'm looking out at you. I have a statement to make. I was her favorite. I know a lot of people think that they were Joyce's favorite. I know Senator Cannizzaro probably thinks that, but you weren't. No. And I'll prove it to you because I needed to go see Senator Cannizzaro. And I'd go in the Senate leadership office, and there'd be like 8, 10 people, nowhere to sit. They're just standing there. And I would go and make a beeline for Joyce's little desk, and I would go. Now, she probably thought I had a nervous twitch, but I was trying to signal her, like, can I get in? Can I get in? And she made a way, get away. So those times that I saw you, it was because of Joyce. You know, I think about when she arrived in Nevada in 1966, Joyce Woodhouse probably never imagined in a million years the impact that she would make on this state. I'm sure she saw opportunity, but just not for herself, because it was never about just herself. It was always about other people. For more than 4 decades, if you can believe that, she carried that mission in her heart to make life better for children, for teachers, for families, and for the people who often felt unseen and unheard. She never sought attention for herself, despite having a resume and a list of accomplishments that would be the envy of anybody on LinkedIn. I don't think any of us knew how many boards and committees she sat on. For example, I had the privilege of working with her as a fellow board member of the Silver State Schools Credit Union. but she really preferred being backstage rather than center stage. She measured success not by self-promotion and publicity, but by results and outcomes. We all know Senator Joyce Woodhouse was the most tireless champion for public education this state has ever seen or ever will see. But those who truly knew Joyce will remember something deeper. They will remember the way that she cared, the way that she listened, the way that she laughed. I'm sorry, I loved her laugh. They will remember how she made people feel calm when things were turbulent, because she believed kindness was never weakness. She inevitably helped make all of us better versions of ourselves. There's a line that's said about teachers that their influence lasts forever because they can never know where it ends. Joyce Woodhouse embedded that truth. Her legacy started in a first grade classroom and lives on in the students that she inspired, the educators she fiercely defended, and the legislators she guided with compassion and integrity. And perhaps the greatest measure of her life is this: Nevada is better off because she was here. On a personal note, I visited her a few times during her final weeks. The last time I saw her was at her home. She was alert and energetic, still engaged, still spilling out the best political gossip. Incredible. I thought, how does she get such juicy intel? I also thought that maybe, I might just see this feisty, tireless, self-sacrificing soul walking door to door with some of her favorite assembly candidates, even during the sweltering Las Vegas summer. At that time, it felt like she wouldn't give up and wouldn't let go because she had more to give to others. For those of you who know me know that when I encounter individuals like Joyce in challenging situations, I always ask, can I pray? And I did with Joyce. We bowed our heads together, and it was a precious moment. I thank God that He graced us with an experience that carried eternal consequences. As we chatted for that last time, I thought, here was a woman who left a perpetual legacy mirrored in the faces of everyone here and reflected in the faces and lives of Nevadans who've never even heard of her name, much less met her. I had the privilege of being her friend, and that's an honor. And that's an honor I will take with me for the rest of my life.
So I look around the room, like there's so many faces that I know I've seen in Joyce's living room over the last months, at a hospital that she might have been in. And I just want you to know that those visits were life source for her. There was a conversation once that we had to say, should we like schedule people? Should we manage pace? And she was like, oh, no, you don't. I want people to just come. And if I'm asleep, wake me up. And so those moments, Mitch, that you shared, and so many of you in this room shared with her, I just want you to know we're treasures to her. So here's someone that I think was a collaborator in creating Good Trouble. Good Trouble is what Marilyn Dondero-Luke and Senator Joyce Woodhouse did together. So please bring up from Patriots.
Mitch, when you
follow someone, you get to say you're the favorite. But I have to remember that First Lady Miller is after me, so she might be the favorite. So good afternoon, and I really want to talk about our friend Joyce. We shared a lot of years of work and a lot of laughs together. There are so many times to remember. As the majority leader mentioned, campaigning, boy, you better get out there and move your feet, sessions, and just being friends. But no matter what, I will tell you there are two phrases that I will never forget that captured Joyce. And one of them was no time to lose. And the other was the time is now. And these aren't just my words. Joyce and I worked together for NCSL, which is a national legislative group. And we worked as fellows on a national education project. And the name of that white paper that was a result of that was No Time to Lose. And the day that I saw that title, I said, oh my gosh, that fits Joyce to a T. So she had no time to lose when it came to education and kids. And the second half of that project was called The Time Is Now. And the day I thought about that, I thought, well, that's what Joyce believes, that the time is now, right down to her bones. And the time to make things better for our students was never next session. It was never next year. It was always now. And this is how she legislated. And Joyce had an encyclopedic mind. And I have to tell you, I said that one day to my daughter. And my 14-year-old grandson said, what's an encyclopedia? I called Joyce immediately and I said, you're not going to believe this. And we laughed. She could recall the details of every bill. She could, every formula guy, and every line of the budget. As we work through the most immediate and important legislation for our education system and the future of our kids, the Commission on School Funding, the Pupil-Centered Funding Plan, the Commission on Innovation and Excellence in Education, Joyce was the one who knew where every piece fit. Joyce used her expertise to help me as her colleague and her friend find my way through all of that. Following her as chair of finance, she led me through the process. But here's the thing about Joyce that you need to know. It was not how she just legislated, it was how she lived. She had no time to lose with friends or the people she loved. For me, it was also ice cream. I'm telling you, there was always time for ice cream, even when it was snowing in Carson City, or if I had to put it in a cooler and drive it across town to her from Brewster's on my side of town. There were the fruit crepes at Heidi's on Sunday mornings because we'd go there and we would talk about legislation. And then there were the trips to Reno to buy one more blouse that neither one of us ever needed. No matter what Joyce decided, the time was always, as you guessed it, right now. That was the gift of Joyce. She brought the same urgency to friendship that she brought to the funding formula, because to Joyce, none of it could wait. You know, the work mattered too much. The people she loved mattered too much. Kids mattered too much. I know I'm a better legislator because Joyce shared that remarkable mind with me, but I'm a better person because she shared her friendship with me. I will miss her. I will miss her counsel and her stories. I'm worried like hell going to the legislative session without her. But I know that the best way I can honor her is to live the way she did, to remember that there really is no time to lose. And that the time for our kids, for our schools, for the people we love, the time is always right now. So Joyce, thank you for being part of my life. And for you family members, thank you for sharing her with us. And thank you for letting all of us know the true Joyce. Thank you.
So somewhere late in February, I think when it appeared that a curative path was going to be elusive. And I think at one point a doctor had said, time to probably get your affairs in order. I remember posing to her the question, is your unfinished business? Because there's so many of us that we've motivated to finish your business. And without any hesitation, she literally said to me, the funding formula. And in that moment, it was so clear. She didn't say Hawaii would be nice, although she and her soulmate, Al, had cherished memories made in the islands. She didn't say Machu Picchu because I've never been. She didn't have a selfish bone in her body. It was like every cell was built to serve. And that was the marching order. And so in the pantheon of people that have throughout Nevada history done for education, Joyce Woodhouse is going to be in that pantheon. And here's the other woman that will join her in that pantheon, and that is former First Lady Sandy Miller.
Yeah, I think it might be a little Thank you, Mo. I said earlier, you know how Mr. Rogers says, watch for the helpers? It's Mo Dennis. There we go. He's always the helper. Thank you. And because I'm a little person, people, and I'm a teacher, please everyone stand for a moment. Jiggle your arms. Stamp your feet. Wiggle around, because we've all been sitting way too long. Every teacher knows we've lost your attention. And before I start, I just want to mention that I was watching the slideshow and I remember so clearly Joan Turner and I going to Joyce's wedding reception at the golf course by Sun City Anthem and talking to Tim and Kathy Harney. And Joan had taught with them at Las Vegas High School, but they were teachers at my high school, at Ridge High School. And I kept saying to Joan, man, they look good. Look, they really, really look good. They look so young. How old are you when you like graduate as a teacher? And she's like 21. And I'm like, yeah, they look a lot better than that to me. And I'm so glad that President of UNLV is not here to revoke my teacher's license and that the superintendent of a school doesn't revoke my high school graduation certificate, because I thought they were 21 years older than me. And man, they looked good. They weren't. They were 5 years older than me. That's why they looked so good. I first met Joyce when I was voluntold to represent my elementary school for the CCSD Teachers Union. Joyce was already a strong leader, fiercely advocating for teachers. And that's when I realized something I would learn over and over again throughout my life. Joyce was a magician. Now in Las Vegas, we have a long history of magicians on the strip. So perhaps that's where she learned her tricks. I don't actually remember Joyce loving magic shows, but while I was struggling as a brand new teacher with lesson plans, bulletin boards, report cards, and somehow finding 2 hours each month to attend a union meeting, Joyce was effortlessly doing all of that and more. She was a master teacher while also chairing Teachers in Politics, organizing teachers across the valley to walk election districts and advocate for legislators who would prioritize children and education. That was the first time I knew she was magical. She somehow made more than 24 hours appearing every day. Later in life, when Bob got his new job as governor of Nevada, I got to watch Joyce's magic in action all over again. Back in the 90s, Dr. Brian Cram was our superintendent. And because I was focused on kids and family, I often followed him from school to school and event to event. I was there many times when a business leader from our community or community partner would offer resources or opportunities for our schools. Dr. Cram would always graciously smile and say, "Thank you, that's a wonderful opportunity. Joyce and Candy will handle all the details." See? Magic. Poof, it just happened. Teachers got support, kids got opportunities, schools got programs, and somehow Joyce quietly made it all work. Let me give you one example. Today, 30 years later, I'm going to tell you about a magic trick Joyce performed that by today's standards may sound ordinary. It's a little like the old magician sawing a lady in half. We've seen it so many times now that it seems no longer feels impossible. But in 1995, it was pure magic. Dr. Robert Ballard, the famous underwater explorer who discovered the Titanic, wanted to inspire elementary students to love science and discovery. The program was called the Jason Project. And of course, magical Joyce made it happen. She found a venue at the community college in North Las Vegas and transformed it into a giant interactive learning center filled with television monitors and technology that at the time felt absolutely futuristic. She recruited some of the best teachers in Southern Nevada who are sitting in that row, and then had them train other teachers. For 2 weeks, buses full of students poured into that auditorium 5 times a day for an unforgettable experience. The monitors broadcast live scientists, teachers, and students doing real research in places like the rainforests of Peru, volcanoes in Hawaii, and even in New Orleans, where they were studying the dangers of hurricanes flooding low-lying communities. Want to know the truly spooky part? The year after the students studied the volcanoes in Hawaii, those volcanoes erupted spectacularly. And yes, they were in New Orleans the year before Katrina. Now, I'm not saying Joyce caused volcanic eruptions over, but I'm also not completely ruling out, because it made the kids really go, "I learned about that." Today, with cell phones, FaceTime, and Zoom meetings, Jason may not seem extraordinary. But in the mid-90s, seeing your own teacher live in Peru or talking in real time to another student halfway around the world, that felt absolutely impossible. To children sitting in the auditorium, it was magic. And that may be Joyce's greatest legacy. Not the program she built, not the meetings she led, not the policies she navigated. It was the way she opened doors for children who suddenly saw a bigger world and believed they could be part of it. Many of these student Argonauts, as they were called, went on to become scientists themselves. And we have one with us today. She is an environmental specialist working for Greenpeace. I know. And those are all Jason teachers where that's how important it was. And if you think about it, that was always Joyce's gift. She made people believe something bigger was possible. She made hard things look effortless. She made opportunities appear out of thin air. She made children feel important. She made teachers feel supported. And she made all of us lucky enough to know that she loved us. Las Vegas may have famous magicians, but the best one I ever knew never worked on the strip. She worked for children. And long after the lights dim, the curtain closes, and the audience goes home, the magic Joyce created is still here. It's in our schools, it's in our students, it's in our state, and it's in all of us. Thank you, Joyce, and magic.
And right alongside Joyce Woodhouse and the creation of Jason and all of the other remarkable things that happened out of the Clark County School District Partnership Office, here's our cleanup hitter, Candy Schneider.
So when we talk about favorites, yeah,
If I'm the last, I can declare that last. Um, for over 40 years, Joyce was a colleague, a friend, a family member. Even though we are blood related, still a family member, both to our family as well as to yours, I'm hoping. We work together to build the community in so many different ways. It was, as Sandy said, magical. Joyce and I were as different as you could possibly get in personality, in manner, in everything. I mean, there are times I'm sure Joyce was so embarrassed and horrified by, the way I hugged people or that, just we were very, very different, but it worked. And it was an amazing experience for all of us. You've heard all of the wonderful stories of her, both as an educator, as a legislator, as a community advocate. But the humanistic side of Joyce is the part that I would share most with you. The Santas and the Christmas songs are something her sister started her on the collection of Santas. I can tell you, we collected Santas everywhere we went. At times, I thought we were going to have to buy a special seat on the plane to take the Santas home because they were so large. When we talked in the last couple of weeks with Joyce, it was her wish to share that collection with all of her family and friends and let that spirit live on. And I ask you, please, not because we don't want to take them home, but we don't. These meant so much to Joyce, and it is the joy and the merriment that she would like to share with all of you. This was her desire, and that was for us to bring them and for everyone to make a choice to treasure within their own family or to share with somebody else. And that is with the ornaments and with the Santas that are there. That is a piece of Joyce, the humanistic side of the joy and merriment that she found in Christmas. And we really hope that you will continue to share that and pass it on to someone else. At 59 and a half is when she married Al Wittenberg. I thought, a simple wedding. She'd like, just a really, quiet, simple thing. Oh no. We were doing a fairy tale wedding. And if you'd seen some of the photos there, I have one of the little albums too, if you'd like to see it. It was December 20th, 2003, with a Christmas theme, as Sandy alluded to as well. There were Santas on every table. They were everywhere. It was part of who Joyce was. And that's why it's so special to us that you take one with you, or more. If you need a family friend, please take more. I just can't even tell you what a joy it has been for this more than 40-year journey. She assured me when my husband told me that he was going to run for office that it was going to be okay because I was ready to divorce him, because that was not in the wedding vows at all. It did not say for better, for worse, or for running for election, but she assured me it would be fine. And she took charge and she managed his campaigns for, the 20 years that he was in office. I lived through it. She was right. I did live through it. A very special person to me. And we have many stories to tell. Those are, or maybe a glass of wine, or you've been here forever. You don't need to hear it anymore at this point, but the Santas are the most important thing. And again, we talked about it with her, and this is what she wanted. And she wanted to have all of her family and friends here to share stories and to share in the joy that she had in the collection. So She treasured her sisters, that Montana blood. I went to Montana for the wedding of one of her sisters. That was my first trip to Montana. And we went from both ends of Montana across there. It was wonderful until I found out when we were at the wedding that I had left my purse on the chair in a lodge in Yellowstone. Well, that means I had no identification to get home. I think I used a Sam's Club photo ID to get home. Who knows? But anyway, thank you all very much. We appreciate it, but no one is leaving without a Santa in their hand. We will be at the door. Thank you.
Wow. Candy Schneider always sounds very kind, but I'm telling you people, she means it. Like, if there's Santas left, you're all in trouble. She's gonna write you all out. Before I allow anyone whose heart has anything that they want to share, a couple of things. There's some gratitude. I just want to quickly, and I hope it's okay on behalf of the family, extend to Candy Schneider, Marilyn Dondero, Luke, Jerry Cody, Joyce Alderman, Julie Pizzina, Tammy Hance, Patty Charlton, Paul Selberg, Martin Fitzgerald, Mo Dennis, who knew could be his own help desk. You should check that. I just want to thank you all for pouring a lot of love into the details for today. Back in the day, there were telegrams, right? At celebrations that would come. And so it would be like a dramatic moment to say, I've got a telegram. Well, no such thing as telegrams, but I did get a phone call and a text from Greece. That sounds fancy, right? So here's what it was. From Alex Bybee and his husband, CJ Neff. The text says, a week ago, standing on the monastery of Variam at Meteora in Greece, one of the most sacred places in the Christian world, perched on an ancient stone pillars between earth and sky, I lit a candle for Joyce. I wanted to remember her in a holy place. Meteora in Greek means suspended in the air or hovering in the sky. That candle burned for her before today's celebration of life in a monastery that has stood for nearly 600 years. Her name was lifted up in prayer across the world, and today I'm holding her in my heart from far away. She was prayed for before today. She will be remembered long after. That's not quite the Western Union, but kind of beautiful. And I just want to close up with something. I've learned so much from Joyce, and I continue to learn so much from Joyce. It is important to have dreams and believe in things deeply. It is really important to believe in things deeply. It is equally important to play a long game and to inspire and compel others over time to join you in delivering and achieving those dreams. In a world in which there's so much polarization right now and so much evilizing and otherizing because we don't agree, I got to tell you, I'm going to carry her with me forever as a reminder of it's always better to go together. We just go further. So thank you, Joyce, for that. Thank you for showing me that I care about friends, and I have a lot of friends. But I have borne witness to what it looks like to have decades of relationship with friends, decades with your manicurist, decades with your cleaning person, decades with the handyman who painted your door a couple of weeks ago, decades of relationship. It's making me reevaluate. Am I focusing on the main thing as the main thing? I will think of her and she will challenge me to do that better. And then finally, I don't know if you know this book, but on May the 1st, the day before her 82nd birthday, she was honored by communities and schools for being an all-in champion for children. And it was at a breakfast. And Candy Schneider, having been delegated by Joyce to accept the award on her behalf, shared this book with everybody. It's called Giraffes Can't Dance. And it's a very sweet story about a tall giraffe who struggled to fit in because he just couldn't dance like all the other animals at the annual jungle dance in Africa. Bummer. but it was a little violin playing cricket who changed everything for little Gerald by teaching that little giraffe that sometimes when you're different, you just need a different song. And spoiler alerts, Gerald, after encountering that little cricket, became the best dancer in the jungle. The message and the gift that he carried from that little violin playing cricket is that we can all dance when we find music that we love. Joyce was like that little violin playing cricket to generations of young people, and frankly, to a whole bunch of us old people too. She believed in the possibility and the potential of every single person, all of us, old and young, the same or different, agreeing or disagreeing. And just like that wise violin little playing cricket, she spent her life making it possible and then celebrating the success of others. It's a lesson that has landed and profoundly impacted my heart. And I know it's going to challenge me on a daily basis to be a slightly better version, a slightly more Joyce-ified version of what I already am. And so it has been an honor to be let in by the family. And there was a thing I went to, a rubber chicken dinnery thing in Carson City several years ago. There was an elected official who made the point that we ought not to say love ya. We ought not to say love ya. And instead we ought to engage and say, I love you. And it stuck and it landed. And there was something that made me share it with Joyce. And it somehow captivated her. And so the greatest treasure that I personally received over these last months is the ability to recall all the times that I got to look at her and say, I love you. And she beams and would say, I love you too. So with that, thank you for being here. Thank you for who you are, what you do, how you show up. And if any of you have on your heart something that you wish to share, I know we would all love to receive it. And I'm looking at the little scientist, by the way, who all of us were like, she's here when Sandy Miller mentioned it. So if you got something on your heart that you'd like to share, we'd sure love to receive it. No thanks, she says. Anybody? Come on, I just invite you up.
Hello, my name's Pam Locasio, and I'm one of Joyce's Jason Project teachers. As a matter of fact, I was the teacher that was selected to be teacher Argonaut in the disappearing wetlands of Louisiana. The logo had bright green in it, so that just kind of became my signature color when I was doing anything related to Jason. And not being a total newbie at all of the attention this generated, I wore that signature green shirt of mine the day that Joyce had me meet her at the PBS studios to film a statement that would be played during the live broadcasts. Well, yes, I discovered I would be a floating head because it was going to be filmed in front of a green screen. Joyce immediately, the problem solved. Okay, she led me to the ladies' room and she literally gave me the shirt off her back. It was actually a hot pink fuzzy sweater. Not something I would have chosen, but hey, we made it work. And that was just Joyce to me. She zipped up her jacket and we went out and did the filming. So I just wanted to let you know she would give anybody the shirt off her back.
Good afternoon, everyone. I might have to adjust the mic. There we go. You all, You can hear me now. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Zan Okudo Lem, and I wanted to share some reflections because you've all heard about how Joyce was a teacher, a caring teacher. And I got to know her not as a student of hers exactly as a student in school, but rather as someone who met her through a program that she cherished and supported throughout her service in the legislature and even after her time formally ended serving as state senator, the Nevada Youth Legislature. She was one of the early supporters of that program with Senator Valerie Greener in the 2007 legislative session. And I first met Senator Woodhouse, Joyce, when she, Senator Shirley Breeden, and Assemblymember Lynn Stewart were doing interviews for the youth legislature in 2009. And I was one of the appointees along with Aaron Craner to join the youth legislature representing Senate District 5. And I remember from the first time I met her through our experiences as youth legislators, how supportive, how caring, and also, as we heard during reflections today, the high standards that she had for us. And she would always be there to both mentor us and also give us some tough love when we needed that encouragement. And much as we heard from Leader Canizaro about the metaphor of what doors are we going to go knock on? How many doors are you going to knock on? It was a similar story for us. What are we doing to hear from our peers, students, from others in our community, so that we can bring those perspectives and those voices to the legislature? I think I can speak for all the youth legislators who've had the privilege of collaborating with her and learning from her when I say that she was a mentor to all of us. She had that love for us as young people, just as she had for all of her students and our entire community. She was also one who went the extra mile to support us with our policy ideas. For example, during my term as a youth legislator, my bill idea was to establish a rainy day fund for education. It was not an original idea. It was something that then Speaker Barbara Buckley had supported in 2009. It did not become law at that time. I carried that idea with me as a youth legislator, but it did not pass or come to fruition during the 2011 session. But it was something that she had kept in mind over the years. And I recall the gratitude, a word we've heard today, the gratitude I felt when in 2019, as part of the shift towards a people-centered funding formula, there would be included the K-12 stabilization fund. And hearing that from her brought me a lot of gratitude for how she kept that in mind about what can we do not only for our students today, but for our students who will become as importance the future generation. She was someone who also supported other youth legislators in their endeavors. For example, many of the folks here will recall the work that she did around financial literacy with colleagues in the legislature and as folks in the community. One of her former youth legislators, Evan Gong, had worked with her on that. When he was a youth legislator, it was not selected at the time, but he continued to work with her in 2015 and finally in 2017 to ensure that students have a more comprehensive understanding of financial literacy moving forward. I had an opportunity to visit Joyce in early April, and I'll always remember just how full of life she was as she was reminiscing over our times together, recounting sessions, recounting bills. But the one thing she asked me to keep in mind, she said, goes without saying, but she reminded me to always pay it forward. Pay it forward. The opportunities we've had to learn and grow, always continue to pay it forward. And so with that spirit, I want to thank you all for being here as we all learn Joyce together. Thank you.
So good afternoon. So I have to say, so my name is Patty Charlton, and so Bertie, my goodness gracious, I think you are my new best friend. I have to say, I've gotten to know you over the last couple months, and so thank you for the support that you provided your sister. You give an example of what we all can be. But as I looked around this room today, I have to say, Joyce was a convener. You can now call it the 6 degrees of Joyce Woodhouse. And when I say that, I look at Sandy Miller and I look at the Jason Project folks. I was at CSN in 1995, and I actually used to make certificates for Sandy Miller's reading program. And I was there and helped to start the Jason Project from the college. But I also have to say, what was more important is all of the people in this room and all of the connections that have been made. I see Senator Don Loop, and I would never have gotten to know her in that same way if it hadn't been for Joyce. Because when Joyce makes a phone call and says, "Hey, we need you to do a little bitty project," and so that little bitty project is never a really little bitty project. Voices and voting was something so very special to Joyce. And that's how I actually got to be connected. And actually, I don't think he's here anymore, but Michael Flores connected me with Joyce. But I mostly saw Joyce in the grocery store or at my esthetician's office. So, there's just this connection. And so one of the things I would have to say is Joyce was special. She connected us in so many ways. We used to talk. I actually lived in Montana. I would talk to her about Great Falls. I heard some amazing stories at Birdie I'm going to take with me, if you know what I mean, because I don't think Joyce would want those to be known. But she was a convener. And I see Guy here. And I remember Guy with all of his leadership in this state on funding massively over decades. And I see Jeremy in the back and Joyce called him in. So when I look around this room, Joyce was a convener, and it's going to be the 6 degrees of Joyce and how all of us have known her, but also as we are better to continue her legacy. And so when someone makes a phone call and says, "Will you do this?" we're going to see it through to the end, and we're going to make sure that Nevada is a better place every day. So thank you so much.
Anybody else? I want to share one last thing that I am almost positive no one but sisters know about. We save and we hang on to the things that mean the most to us in life. Yes, we all do that. The things that matter the most, I save. As they've been going through things, they just discovered a trophy that stands about this tall, given to Joyce Woodhouse in 1961 for the best heifer. Yeah, so it turns out in Montana that your heifer actually, it turns out it's your sheep that then grow in value. Am I getting this right, Claudia and Cheryl? The value of the sheep goes up. That's how you go. That's college tuition. Other way, it's the quality of the heifer that pays your way. The only way to go to college in Montana is to have good four-legged critters. So Joyce Woodhouse had the best four-legged critters. I'm just staying safe here. And won a trophy. She apparently also won belt buckles and certificates and other things that were not worth saving, but this one trophy was worth saving. So now you know things that nobody else knows about Senator Joyce Woodhouse. I think at the very beginning, someone led us off by saying that today is a day with a lot of sadness. And it is. Because I know walking into the church this morning, all of a sudden, it felt very real. And part of punctuating this journey of grief is to punctuate a journey of grief with celebration so that the sadness will continue to coexist with gratitude, with rejoicing, with the memories. And so I hope your presence here brings you some of that. Some balm, some soul salve, something that you would rub on the udder of a good heifer if you were striving to win it. I shouldn't even try that. I don't know why. I thought I was on a roll. I shouldn't have done it. I know she is smiling, and I know she is so grateful for every single one of you, and I can feel the love coming from you. And so thank you all for being here. Thank you, Joyce Woodhouse, for bringing us together. And Candy is going to inventory how many things are moving off that Christmas table. If you're not doing your part, she's going to bring her red pen and grade you badly.